Hey y'all, how y'all doing? It's your girl Ruth. I'm back with Boss Up. So I'm gonna say that the first one was air over here. We're gonna see empowering women, moms. Okay, let's finish. I stopped at it's part two. We love our kids, and of course, we don't want them to get hurt, but we're being buried under all the responsibility put on us to make sure our kids lives are free of hard things. We're obsessed with the idea that our kids' struggles are somehow our fault, and we let their struggles reflect on our parenting. I don't know how much of that, I didn't go back over that video yet. I'm gonna go back over and see how much messed up. I'm resilient. I'll start it over. Matter of fact, let me mark where I stop. Part one, part two. Okay. Da. We're obsessed with the idea that our kids struggle. Okay. At this point, as a culture, we completely crushed the helicopter parenting game. Here we hover over our kids, insulting their lives and making everything safe, insulating their lives and making everything safe. We moved on to lawnmower parenting, where parents' lives are consumed with mowing a perfect, struggle free path for their kids to walk on towards adulthood. This is the lady. Okay. A lot more parents spend their time removing every obstacle that could get in the way of their kids' success and happiness, and they feel guilty about every single moment they can't be with their kids, attending attending to their needs. So they completely replace their own needs, wants, desires, dreams, and goals with their kids' happiness, success, and requirements. They tell themselves that they're sacrificing to make their children's lives better. My my view, since I've learned, is that we borrowing the kids, and our job when they come out is to nourish them and teach them and show them how to live on their own. You know, some are slower than others. Catch on, slower than others. That's all it is, and you have to spend a little bit more time with them. A lot more parents spend their time removing every obstacle. I'm gonna stop that could get in the way of their kids' success and happiness, and they feel guilty about every single moment they can't be with their kids, attending to their needs. So they completely replace their own needs, wants, desires, dreams, and goals with their kids' happiness, success, and requirements. They tell themselves that they're sacrificing to make their children's lives better. Want me to read that over? And yet, what they're actually producing are entirely helpless children who have no idea how to solve problems or handle adversities. Cleaning up kids' messes for them simply doesn't prepare them to be responsible adults who know they can do hard things. A gift of a happy mother. And what about us, ladies? I didn't get the throat thing until now, but nothing wrong with me. Okay. When do we get to make ourselves, our lives, our purpose a priority? After our kids move out of the house, we love our kids, we do. They are the best things we've ever done. But does that mean everything else we wanted before having children should just float away in a handcraft paper mache hot air balloon that glittens in the sun like a diamond? I'm sorry, but enough is enough. I'm tired of the lies we women tell each other in this culture we've created. Doing something you love doesn't make you a bad mom. Okay? And guess what? Shoot. Being there to kiss every boo boo doesn't make you a good mom. So my mom was not there to kiss every boo boo. Okay, let's get that straight right now. And I was adventurous, so I was always gone. The way my women treat each other over this whole mothering business is shameful and unnecessary. Any guilt you feel over taking time to do something that's fulfilling to you is ultimately self inflicted and not based on reality. This is where you stop worrying about what people on the internet says about you, where you stop comparing your real life to someone else's fake life, and where you start doing what you love because you love it and not because there's to do it, pressure to do it, sorry. One thing you can control, which is 100% up to you, is giving your children the gift of happy, fulfilled mother. If that means devoting most of your hours to your home and your kids, fine. But if it means chasing after your dreams while supporting your kids and doing the same, that's fine too. If that means it may shake up the traditional role in your marriage, do that too. You deserve the same chance as personal fulfillment and happiness as every other member of your family. Hello. About how many women have that postpartum depression, that depression or whatever, have killed their kids, maybe killed themselves because they were scared to speak up. A woman is so many things, layers of an onion. After 5 years ago, I finally learned that my life and my purpose do not revolve around my kids. My kids are a blessing, and they certainly fulfill me, but they are not my sole reason for being, and their happiness does not make me worthy of being. I have been given abilities, skills, and gifts that are meant to be used outside of being a mom. I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting it, or at least I don't think that now. I don't want to be that woman who has a complete breakdown when my kids leave for college or whatever they decide to do at age 18 because attached my work to my children's lives. How many parents I know do that? And their happiness and their success. I don't want to have to think back about what I liked to do before my kids came along because I can't remember anymore. I don't want to have to try to fall in love with my husband again because we just don't know each other anymore. Okay. I certainly don't want to have missed my calling in life because I was too afraid to pursue it while my kids were little for fear of what others would think. Welcome to your turning point. Does any of this resonate with you? Oh, yeah, 'cause I did it with the kids. If so, welcome to your turning point. If you're like most women I met, you're talented, you're a dreamer, you have unique abilities that shine. You could also probably use an extra 500 each month to make ends meet. Hello. And yes, gone from talking about comparisons and guilt and dreams and desires to talking about money. Because let's face it, money matters. It's not everything in life. It's not even the most important thing, but it matters. In fact, that extra 500 bucks could make a big difference in your life, especially if you're a mom. I know what you're thinking. I like my way more than a car payment each month. Oh, I like way more than a car payment each month, but even that would be helpful. I know because I talk to people just like you who have a dream and a desire to do something more, but who always need just a little bit more money to take some of the pressure off of the household budget. During the early days of my business, when my check paycheck went over 500 a month for the first time, I felt like a weight has lifted from me. Not only was I doing what I love, but I was contributing financially to my family. My husband and I were on the Dave Ramsey envelope system at that time, and I felt like I had just changed the game. Earning an extra 500 a month feels like a lot of money, yet it also feels doable, doable. The great news is that you can make that much money at home doing something you love with your kids at home as well. In fact, you can do a lot more than that if you're willing to lean into the mess and figure out how to do it in a way that actually works for you. The power of that extra 500 is what drives pop-up ETSY shops, online photography studios, eBay resellers, product distributions, and countless other small startup businesses. That 500 moves women to action because women are doers and they're strong enough to handle motherhood, their own business at the same time. The 500, I know it's still lit. That 500 is also really fun to chase after. It gives us an excuse to use our gifts and pursue our purposes. And for stay-at-home moms, especially, it breaks up what can otherwise become a variable groundhog day in our lives. It's my desire to unlock the potential within each mom to get up and grind out at least that extra bit of money and maybe lots more. I didn't care. I don't care if it's for the mortgage or shoes, that's up to you. What I care about is that you love making it because doing something you love is the key. Now I was going to stop at chapter 2, but since they want whatever. The Road to Freedom, chapter 2. I was born to own a business. It's something I have done since I was 23 years old, and it's something I'll continue to do for the rest of my life. I come from a long line of entrepreneur women. As I've mentioned, my mom was in real estate. I worked for her right out of college and learned so much from her about what it takes to run your own business, from setting aside money for taxes to dealing with tough clients. She was brilliant. Now this is good when your child go to college and there's not a lot of jobs. And if you have a business in place, that would be good to hire your children until they get into their, help them get into their own business, and maybe it can go along with yours. Who knows how they might go. My grandma, also in real estate, one thing she was really proud of was being able to pay for both my mom's and my uncle's college tuition with the money she had as an entrepreneur. Even my great grandmother was an entrepreneur. Before it was cool for a woman to run a business, she was doing hair out of her house. My mom used to tell us all the time that my grandmother would save all of great grandmother would save all of her tip money for doing hair and give it to her when she visit. Hello. Yeah, I don't know my great grandma did. I don't know what she did. She was part of the slave thing. I don't know. Clearly, I come by this business owning dream naturally. I've got a legacy to uphold here, and I will not be one to disappoint. I've learned a lot of hard lessons from the school of hard knocks in my career path, and I've worked in a lot of different fields, from being an easy Mac eating creator, creative freelancer to rising through the ranks of a Fortune 1000 company. Hello. At times, I've made almost no money working for myself, and other times, I've made millions. I've experienced wild amounts of freedom and crushing losses. All those experiences make me the mom, mama, mamapreneur I am today, and fill me with a desire to use my story to help other women achieve success in business as well. When I was able to find something to do that encompassed all the lessons I've learned and the skills I possess, my business took off like lightning out of the sky, and it's still going strong. The best part about finally finding my thing has been the flow that followed. I've been able to experience freedom at work just as I do in my life outside of work. This is a magazine, Lies Magazine. Okay. That doesn't mean that everything I do is fun and that everything's perfect, but it does mean that when I sit down to do my job, I am confident in myself and my work. And more ways than not, the 8 hours I work feel more like three. Before I let you in on the success philosophies that my business was built on, I want to tell you more of my story. I want you to see that while the details may not be the same, you're more alike than different. So let's get to know a little bit about a younger Lindsay, the younger me. At 8 years old, I used to tell people I wanted to be an astronaut when I grew up. I didn't really want to be an astronaut though. That just seemed like the normal thing kids my age would say. I actually wanted to be the boss of a business. As crazy as that sounds for an 8 year old, this is truly what I wanted. I remember one day walking through the Safeway in whatever town that is, Arizona, with my mom. I usually went with her when she hit the grocery store. Sometimes she'd let me take the back roads and drive us to the store before I had a license. She was that kind of mom. Okay. Almost every time we went to the store, she'd grab a loaf of French bread fresh from the bakery, hot if we were lucky, and we'd eat it as we walked across the store shopping. Super healthy, I know, but what a great memory we with my mom. On that particular day when we were walking through the Safeway, I was thinking very hard about what I was going to be when I grew up. I knew I was different from the other girls in my class, and I also knew that I couldn't wait until the day I was free to make my own choices and live away from home. The other girls in my class wanted to be ballerinas and doctors and princesses, but I wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's me too. Man, I come from a country. Every day we was out there hustling in the canal, picking up bottles, getting a little change, hustling, hustling. And I wanted to provide a product that everyone needed because if everyone needed it, I would maximize profits. This ambition came partly from the fact that entrepreneurship was truly a part of my DNA, but it also grew out of the reality that we didn't have a lot of money. I always knew that I would have to make money to buy the things I wanted to have and do. I also knew that my parents weren't living that kind of life. Let me see. I felt our financial struggles at an early age, and I just figured that finding something everyone needed was the best way to make money on a product. As I walked through the store, scanning the shelves for the products that would perhaps fit into my everybody needs this category, we happened to turn down the paper goods aisles. That's it, I thought. Everybody needs toilet paper. Hello. My elementary school brain led me to believe that one person owned each company that produced toilet paper and that I would be one of them one day. I just knew I was going to figure out a way to disrupt the toilet paper game. You guys, bless my heart, I wish this was a lie. And as I grew, I got a better sense of how the toilet paper game really went. And I also realized that producing butt wipe tools wasn't for me. Don't get me wrong, toilet paper is good to have. It's just not my life calling, but it put me on the right track. Even though my business ideas changed as I matured, that desire to own my own business and make money with it remained an intriguing part of me. Knowing what she did about entrepreneurship and the difficulties that came along with it, my mom convinced me to get a degree in business and communication. That wasn't really a request, but more of a requirement. She also convinced me to go into pharmaceutical sales after college at Arizona State because, to her, that was a safe job that would provide a great salary, advancement opportunities, and challenge without all the risks that comes along with the business ownership. Or my mom making child's life. The problem with that was I had no desire to drive around Arizona in the summer when the temps reached 373 degrees and the ship's medical equipment all over the place. So I made a case for going to work for my mom in her office. That way I could earn a paycheck while I figured out what I really wanted to do. During that time I picked up photography and some design skills. I used them to help my mom market the home she listed and help her clients get a better picture of what she could do for them. Hello. I started creating marketing pieces for other agents in my mom's office as well. My very first side hustle, and age 23. Then one day I happened to walk into a scrapbook store and my whole world changed. Scrapbooking was a hobby that brought together all the things I was good at and loved to do. I love to use my hands and my computer to make pretty things full of color, and I love to write out my stories. So I got into scrapbooking big time. And my very first business, the kind where you form a limited liability company and make it legit, was a freelance scrapbooking and photography business. Now I know what you're thinking, but Lindsay, all the coolest 25-year-olds are scrapbooking on the weekends. How did you pull that off with so much competition? Commerce eye roll. Well, I'm here to tell you again that I'm not cool by normal standards. I like weird things. Eventually, I left the comfort of my mom's office and took hourly jobs at a few scrapbook stores in Arizona because I just fell in love with the industry so much. I could no longer think about the real estate market, despite my mom's not so subtle urging. Real estate just wasn't what I loved. I knew it wasn't the career path for me. Scrapbooking was what I loved. So I spent my days working at scrapbook stores and my nights creating projects for magazines and product manufacturers to help them sell their product. I was just learning how to run a business, of course, so I made a lot of mistakes. The number one mistakes I made in my first freelance business was not making any money. Try to contain your shock and awe. It's not enough to just want to love what you do and have a product that works. The other part of that formula involves getting paid for your work. I made my first sale today. Hey, you need to make money doing what you're doing so that you can, pay your bills. My early failures, though, were necessary lessons to prepare me for my future business ownership opportunities. I failed to think, though, the part of the business building formula that required me to bring in a profit. I had plenty of people who would pay me. They just paid me next to nothing because I wasn't valuing my time or understanding the market and charging accordingly. I was having a great time. I was young and I ate box macaroni and cheese like it was a gourmet meal. Yeah, I had a small business too. I didn't get paid like I did. And had some of my home like I supposed to have. And having the kids and trying to run a store and married, blah blah blah. Didn't last. What did I care about what did I care about making tons of money? I was having too much fun and wasn't entirely sure that having fun and making money could coexist. Eventually, though, my mom sat me down and got real with me. She reminded me what she had already taught me through her experience. Example, that it's important to be compensated for your time, no matter how much you like what you do. I realized she was right. If I wanted to actually make being an entrepreneur work, I would have to bring in enough money to survive on it. It was time to let the full-time landscape freelancing go and get a real job that would pay me a salary, make good sense, good use of my education, and even provide health benefits. I was sure I'd come back to freelancing once I had a fulfilled full-time job to support my scrapbooking habit. A friend of mine who had recently made the jump from an hourly to a salary position had just the hookup for me. So I joined a Fortune 1000 company, and over the next 6 years, I worked my way up from the bottom to a management evaluation and training. This is where I got my first glimpse at leadership in a corporate setting. My team was responsible for hitting required sales and retention benchmarks, and we competed against the other teams of salespeople on the floor. It was at this company that I realized I have a gift for sales. I naturally understood how to get people to say yes to me, and I could present the value of our product in a way that made the customer feel good about their choice. That's probably why mom had pushed me into medical sales and real estate. The apple doesn't fall from far from the tree, as they say. Let's see something. When I was promoted into management, I was one of the only two female managers. When the senior director gave me the position, he stood in front of me while I sat on a chair in front of him and said, "You're not going to make me regret hiring you, are you?" I could physically feel how much he wished I was a man. At that time, the standard hire for the position was a man, and the boys' club at that organization was firmly in control. Hiring me was shaking things up. And even though I was fully qualified, I knew he was nervous to promote a woman over another dude. I was learning, though, experience just how real that glass ceiling is. The minute I heard these words, I knew I'd ultimately have to find my way back to entrepreneurship, where I would be able to make my own rules, my own hours, and not worry about some dude I don't know being disappointed by my performance before I even start. Okay? Entrepreneurship was calling me. For the record, though, my team of all women, except two brave men, eventually wiped the floor with the other teams. Women are awesome. We can do whatever is asked of us, even under all the pressure and all the stereotypes. How's that for making the guy regret hiring me? Hello. I held on to the scrapbooking business for a little while after going to work at the company, but eventually I had to let it go because it was a terrible business plan for me. But I never let photography go. Even with my 9 to 5 job, photography held strong. I started taking weekend family photography gigs and I started charging what my work was worth, even to my friends and family. I got plenty of inquirers who wanted to trade me my services for experience or exposure, which I learned very quickly would not be accepted as form of payment for my cell phone bill. Hello. I think I charged good today. I charged what I said I was going to charge. Gave it a little old look. I'm making that person my guinea pig. Okay. Pro tip: pay for your services and products from those who provide them to you. Don't put your friends in a weird spot of saying they'll take your family pictures or give you that face treatment for free just because you know them. You should pay for their hard work because you know them and you want to support them. On the other side of that coin, charge people for the products and services you provide. Your time and your product are not free. Require payment even if you're doing work for people you know and love. This is what you do. If you want to justify your time working, you need real dollars. Hello. The moment everything changed. During these 6 years when I was working in corporate America, I met my husband, got married, gave birth to a set of identical twin girls, and then not even 2 years later to another baby girl. My family life was lit, y'all. That's when the biggest change in my life happened. 3 weeks after Kennedy, my youngest, was born, my husband pulled me into our living room and set me down on the couch. Excuse me. He looked at me with more pity than I had ever experienced. That is not a good feeling, and said to me, Lindsay, I have to tell you something, and it's going to be the hardest thing you will ever hear. Never once had what he was about to say ever crossed my mind. He looked at me with tear filled eyes. Your mom died today. Wow. Lights out. Everything has been difficult from this moment on my life. From this moment on in my life. Everything. I threw whatever it was I'd been nervously playing with in my hands onto the coffee table. Put my hands on my face and screamed. Michael sat motionless across from me, trying like hell to keep himself together. I remember asking what happened. My mind went to a car accident. Of course it did. Just 3 weeks earlier, Mom had been at my home with me while we brought her third granddaughter into the world. She had seemed perfectly healthy. She was only 53, but it hadn't been a car accident. She'd been at home. I had too many difficult phone calls to count. I made too many difficult phone calls to count. The saddest of them to my two younger brothers. I wonder how we were going to get 2 1-year olds and a newborn to Arizona for a funeral when I was still recovering from my C section. We didn't even have enough laps for them to sit on. And also, I couldn't do this. I still looked pregnant. I remember snapping right into work mode though, efficient as ever. Okay, I had handled this. I figured it all out and fixed it. Right now, I needed to feed the baby. We should eat our dinner. We need to get the groceries. My brain was half shut off, and I was in complete and total shock. I could feel without feeling. I would start to cry during the night, but for some reason I couldn't get myself to believe it was true. I had to have logical conversation with myself. Lindsay, no, you can't call her to tell her what's going on. She isn't there. You already know this. Ooh, that touched me right there. I couldn't tell which end was up really. I just walked around in the fog. I retained my ability to do the things I had to do for the family's survey survival, but I wasn't in my right mind. It wasn't until I walked into the room for the private viewing and saw my mom lying on a table that it started to become real. For some strange reason, I was shocked to see her there. Though I knew why we were there, somehow I didn't expect to see her. I couldn't explain that feeling. Oh, I know, sister. But I knew in that moment that she was really gone. There was no part of her lying on the table, save for a few recognized physical traits I had known all my life. I remember her hands. I had to see her hands. It turns out that my healthy, workout, everyday mom had died of a massive heart attack due to a buildup of scar tissue in her heart from a previous heart attack she didn't even know about. Wow. She hadn't recognized what was happening when she had her first heart attack. She thought it had she thought she had the flu. I remember everything about that day. She was probably the exact age that I am right now, maybe a year or two younger, and I was a junior high. One morning she called me quietly from her bathroom and she told me she couldn't move. She asked me to go get her some medicine from the convenience store, and I rode my bike down there to get it. She was under massive amounts of stress at that time, financial, emotionally, rational, her role as a mother, her marriage, her work, massive pressure. She held it all together though, as efficient and unfeeling as ever. I can handle this. I'll figure it all out and fix it. Sound familiar? Yeah. Nothing can convince me that stress didn't kill my mom. That's one piece of history I cannot let repeat itself. Wow. I know I'm probably reading to myself. There was a time after losing my mom when I thought that if I kept pushing through, I might get back to my old norm. I realize how now that I wouldn't. Everything is still different. I cried less each year, but there's still a big hole in my soul where only a mom could go. And I know now it will always be there. Good things still happen, of course, but victory is just a little less sweet. At holidays, there's just a little less laughter. During the girls' events, there's a little less excitement. They don't know, they didn't know it, but I do. I think that's also where my fear of flying stems from the possibility that I may eventually bestow this kind of loss on my kids, that they may have to experience this kind of hole in their own heart one day. For some reason, my brain was calculated that a plane crash is the most likely scenario in which I might not live to see my girls grow up. I realize that's totally illogical when you say it out loud, but it all boils down to grief. Losing my mom is by far the hardest thing I've walked through, and my childhood wasn't a cakewalk. I continue to walk through it. It feels like wading through thick molasses. Nothing about it feels good, although I can acknowledge some good that came out of it, important lessons I've learned that have helped. For example, sometimes I wonder what I would be doing if my mom was still here, and each time I land on the fact that I probably wouldn't have the capacity to do what I'm doing today. It's though, and because of the broken parts of me, that I've come to believe that almost anything is possible. Not because my mom didn't teach me this with her words or by, her example, because she did, but because I didn't know for sure that I could do it until she wasn't there to catch me if I didn't. Analyzing things happens when you realize you have no safety net. That's the hardest and best lesson I've learned so far in my life. Another lesson I've learned through my mom's death was one that put me on the path I'm on right now. When she died, she was in debt. She worked crazy hours. She had a lot of dreams and plans to travel the world and see her grandkids grow up. My mother regularly told me she was going to live to be 100, and she always regularly told me about all the things she was going to do someday. Someday I'm going to go to Italy and drink the wine in Tuscany. Someday I'm going to take us on a river rafting trip down the Colorado River and the Grand Canyon. Someday. Wow. She died with all her somedays still sitting on the table, waiting to be realized. Look, I know my mother's death came at the right time. I believe her days and hours and breaths were numbered, and it was the right time for her to go. I realize she's a whole lot happier in heaven, even having never seen Italy. But here on earth, her story is heard for me to tell. I feel a certain amount of guilt around how hard she worked to provide for my brothers and me, and how little she got to do for herself. There was no happy ending to her life, just a lot of struggle to survive. She never made it to that place in this life where she got to relax and experience freedom. Having seen that, as much as I admire my mom, I am determined that her story will not be my story. I will not let my kids feel about my life the way I feel about my mom's life. If I die at 53, as she did, I want them to stand at my funeral and say, she may have only lived 53 years, but she did 100 years worth of living. Hello. A plan in motion. In the months after my mother died, it became clear to me that something had to change. There I was with a newborn and a pair of 1 year old twins. I was working full time at a Fortune 1000 company and a little over halfway through my master's degree in org- organizational psychology. We were in Colorado at the time, and I didn't have any of the comforts of home in Arizona, where I was raised. It was just too much. So I started grief counseling and somehow managed to resist the urge to stay in bed and sleep through part of my life because I had babies that needed me. And after talking a lot with my husband, I set a plan in motion to earn the freedom to actually live my life. I would quit my corporate job, finish my degree, and stay at home with the girls while building my own photography business. Meanwhile, Michael would concentrate on building his career. He and I had agreed before we even had children that we move as much as we needed to for his career to take off, and move we did, every single year for the first 9 years of our marriage. We struggled financially as I started and restarted my photography business in all the states we moved to, but I was determined not to go back to a corporate job, and my husband supported me every time I had to start over. By 2013, just over 2 years after my mom died, she had moved to Seattle. We had moved to Seattle, Washington, but my husband had climbed the corporate ladder to his dream job, college president. He was bringing his best to work every day and working crazy hours. Twice when we had a vacation plan, his boss made him call me at the 11th hour and cancel because she wanted him at work. He was giving all his energy and empathy at work, and when he get home, he was tapped out. He had nothing left to give. He could be after a 12-hour workday. How how wait a minute. How could he after a 12-hour workday? How could he with only one day off a week? Stress was going to kill him too, and I felt certain that I needed to find us a new normal, a new way to do life. Losing one family member to stress related illness was enough to light a very real fire under my butt to find a solution to the problem. It was in Seattle that I tried an essential oil for the first time, and it was there that I put together the business plan that was going to change my life and the life of my family. This was going to be the thing that took the stress off Michael. This was going to be the thing that would provide the money for the Christian education for my kids. This was going to be the way God allowed me to provide a different kind of legacy for my kids, to break the cycle of stress and change our family heritage. People often ask if I knew when I started my oil business, that it was going to take off. And my answer is unequivocally yes. I knew it was as surely as I knew my own name. This was going to be the vehicle that got us the freedom to say yes to opportunities, to live a different kind of life. I'm not the one who typically hears the still small voice of God. I talk too much. I do too much. I don't take enough time to sit down and allow myself to be quiet. But after a couple of months trying to push away the idea of trying out an essential oil business, I woke up with a fully formed idea for marketing them in a new way. It was like I had been given the clearest vision what I was supposed to do. I got up out of bed in the middle of the night and pondered out my plan in a computer. I just knew I was supposed to follow this calling, and that certainty, my friends, was a God thing. My steps were directed that night, not in a still, small way, but in a loud, blooming voice through a desire I could not shake. I knew I was supposed to walk through the door of this essential arts business when I realized I could use my authentic voice, my skills, and my talents towards something I was super passionate about: women's entrepreneurship. I love the product we sell, and it does so much good for so many people, including my family. But I don't love any product in the world the way I love teaching women how to build a successful business. That, my friend, is my passion. Hello. On March 25th, 2013, the Lemon Droppers, my team of essential oil freaks, was born. My focus from day one was to teach these women how to start smart, be themselves, and build a business that would bring them the freedom to choose the kind of life they wanted to live. But before that happened, I had to come to terms that the fact that I was getting myself involved with a type of company that I deeply distrusted, to put it mildly. The first big score: multi level marketing, MLM, direct sales, and network marketing had always been like cuss words to me. And honestly, some of the MLK industry still is, and that is so hard for me to get into. I studied it, I took it up, I know how it go. It's got to be aggressive. When I heard them say them, I immediately feel like I've been punched in the stomach. It is shocking how many negative connotations these phrases carry with them in my mind. Everything I had heard about and experienced around how MLM sells and markets their product had struck me as lazy and manipulative. Yeah, I guess that's how I feel. And I just knew the same thing was going through the heads of my tribe, my generation, my friends, and my spheres of influence. So when I found out that the essential oils company I was interested in was an MLM, I swear I didn't know at first. I was beyond furious. Oh, great, I thought. We're about to get into the weird that inedible flows every person I have ever known to be involved in direct sales. The problem was, by that point, I'd already fallen in love with essential oils. I became obsessed not about doing the business, but about using the product. And as I do with all things I love, I talk about them on my social media feed. At the time, I only had about 250 followers, and it was really just made up of photo scrapbook people, friends, and family. Nothing to write home about, but enough to launch a business that would eventually lead to really big things. Once I started posting about the product and started talking honestly about what I love, I found myself answering a lot more questions about how to get R's, then talking about ballet practice and what I hate for lunch. And I loved every second of it. Gone were the days when my Facebook and Instagram and Twitter feeds were filled with every nuance of my day. Instead, I was finding ways to connect and to market the product I had decided to sell as a business. The fact that was a complete network marketing version actually turned out to be an advantage. I didn't know anything about it, so I searched everywhere for information on how people were growing a business like this. I also watched what my competition was doing. How were they working? What did they do to attract customers? That's probably my deal. I searched so much stuff. How did they communicate? What needed what need were they meeting for their customers? Then I went out and did the exact opposite. And you know what? It worked. I'd seen enough of what the typical MLM salesperson did to make money, and honestly, I didn't like it that much. I don't like it either. I noticed most leaders I've studied in the industry were inauthentic and generally petty, pretty entitled as a whole. I noticed that the culture of many MLM businesses seems sneaky and self-serving. Yeah, I always felt like the salesperson paycheck not the value of the product for the customer. So that's what I'm talking about. Was the point of every transaction. I use everything I make out. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. I express it on my other channel. In my opinion, that was right. I once had a network marketing distributor tell me that if I really wanted to find 2,000 to buy their product, I could make it happen, even though he knew Michael and I was struggling financially at the time. I remember Erica on All My Children. I forgot her real name. She said that. She said she don't play roles. Whatever she was doing or whatever product she would back or come in front of camera with, she had to support it. It had to be something that she believed in. I admire her for that. I wanted to create a business from home that was consistent with my personal values and that allowed me to accurately meet the needs of my customers while making money at the same time. I'm not in business of making my friends and family take my awkward phone call where I the opportunity, explain the opportunity I have for them or where I beg them to buy a product every month so I can build my paycheck. I don't like that either. I want something that you want to use, something that's for you. I want to be able to provide that. It makes you, it helps you, it changes you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm teaching you what I put in it too. Because I might decide to go do something else and you might need that product. You can learn how to do it for yourself. That's my whole point of getting off into making that channel, our ancestors HM products, to show people how to make stuff and do stuff for themselves. And that's what I want. Allowing people to do stuff for themselves, not making people handicapped. Um, I have for them and work. Okay. I'm not trying to be no kind of way. This is just how I feel. I'm most certainly not in the habit of making people tell me no 9 times before I leave them alone. So I decided to try out. Yeah, I did a lot of sales. I didn't like pushing and try to make somebody buy something. I decided to try out MLM my way, a total different way. We're talking, we're wildly different. Black and white, Sylvester and Tweety, all in water. You get the point. Opposite, 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 yeah. This was something I was not willing to compromise on. I was going to be myself. I was going to sell my product in a way that ran counter to what I saw happening with every other MLM. And guess what? So far, not only have I seen amazing success based on this model, but it's been a record setting time. In 5 years, the team that started with me and an Instagram post has grown to more than 520,000 families. Wow. And a third of $1 billion in annual sales. Hello. Within a year and a half of starting, I was pulling in more than 6 figures a month in personal income. Okay. Do it your way. Now, when people press you to do it, everything don't work for everybody. I'm not an aggressive person like that. You know, I go another way. That's all I can say. And find your niche. I quickly realized that those 6 figures were buying me freedom. I could say yes to life, to fun, to travel, to giving, and I could say yes to other business opportunities. Since my first $1 million producing business, my husband and I have created 2 businesses on the retail and services side of entrepreneurship that have gone on to produce more than $1 million each. Without the success of that first venue, I would have had no ability to take the lessons I've learned and apply them to something new. I'm still not your typical MLM person. I love the company I represent and I love my team and our products, but I still cringe about the pressure many network marketing reps put on the people they know they know to buy product to build a paycheck. I wish they could see there's a better way to reach customers, one that works the same for any and all entrepreneurs, no matter what industry they're in, what product they represent, or what service they provide. That's why, and another reason I made the channel and I did it because I don't know what them, when you read the inscription, I don't know what them big words is. Uh, they were making me itch. I was calling problems. I was getting headaches. You get the picture. Okay, well, I stopped. I'm sorry. Uh, the best way I found to make this kind of change in the industry has been to teach the women I work with and speak to that entrepreneurship doesn't have to mean desperation and gargles, gar- gargle, whatever, GARAGES, garage full of product they can never sell. I probably not the word. Your purpose or your vehicle. Over the years of getting to know the MLM industry, I realized that it can be a great source of residue income, but it can also be a great vehicle for getting women to the place where they can fulfill their purpose in life. That's what it was for me. The same as true of any kind of entrepreneurship. Maybe your product is your purpose. Maybe your service is your purpose. That's okay. Maybe those extra 500 bucks are your purpose, and that's okay. Maybe though your product or service is actually the vehicle that gets you to your real purpose. Yeah. Study evolving, study learning. I had to build my business success first before I was able to step out and lead women entrepreneurs in an industry the way I do today. I had to have the money to build a speaking career. I had to realize a certain amount of success before I had the ability to write books on how to achieve it. You get the choice. Your business is either your purpose or your vehicle. Both are okay. Either way, you're doing it right. When people ask me about my success secrets, I tell them about 10 success philosophies that I and so many others have used to build our businesses. It doesn't matter what business or industry you're in or what level of success you reach. These 10 philosophies can apply to your business too. They are functional tools. You learn the foundation and then, in your own way, with your own voice, you go out and make them work for your business. I've applied them to 9 different businesses I've owned in the last 5 years, always in a different way because each business requires different kinds of work. As we explore the 10 success philosophies, you won't find me saying you have to do anything a certain way. We are all different, and we all work best when we use our unique talents and skills to build our business. This book isn't about you building your business my way. On the contrary, it's about you taking these foundations and making them work for you. It's likely that you that you can say this word GRABBED this book because you're either currently running a business that you like to see grow, or you got a little idea that you haven't quite gotten off the ground yet. Both are awesome, and you come to the right place. Before we move on to the 10 success philosophies, a good look. I want you to take a good look at who you are, what you're good at, and what you really want out of life. Because it's really hard to get where you're going if you don't know where you're coming from. True that. But what if you don't know? What if you're not sure what you're good at anymore besides changing diapers? What if you lost touch with that what inspires you and calls to you, and you can't even remember all the things you used to love and all the things you're good at? Don't worry, girl, I got you. I'm positive that your skills and passions will help you turn your desire to own your own business into reality. Passions will help you turn your desire to own your own business into reality. Read on. Okay. I'm gonna stop y'all. Chapter 3. Okay. I might be back later on. I'm gonna take a breather. And I hope it helps somebody, you know. I've been wanting to read this book when I got it. I got it at the thrift store, paid $1.99 for it. Okay. But yeah. All right. I'll be back. Thanks for listening, y'all. I hope it helped, like I said, in some type of way. This your girl Ruth signing off. Like, subscribe, share, and comment. I really appreciate it. And I'll be back later for part 3. All right. Love y'all. Bye.